Hello and welcome to the Old Bob Show, produced and directed here at Vernon Communications in Westby. Westby is located in the beautiful western Wisconsin area of coulees and valleys and ridges. And we're happy to bring to you now the Old Bob Show, and here is your host, Bob Burrell. Hello and welcome again to the Old Bob Show. And as I said earlier on another start here, it's always a joy to be here every Tuesday morning, usually with Randy and with Jane, and with special guests like so many that have been here with me. And I'm hoping that you all watch and spread the word about some of these, all of these fine people that are on board here with me today. We have a topic and a gentleman that I really feel at home with, because he's a farm-bred, raised boy out here between Cashton and Westby. Something like that, and I'm very proud and happy to introduce you, Darin VonRuden. Darin, and thanks, Darin looks so young. My gosh, but he tells me that he's been associated with farming and the Farmers Union, of which he is president for the state of Wisconsin, for 47 years. Yep. And his parents used uncommonly good common sense when they decided to stop raising tobacco when Darin and his brothers grew up.
Right, yeah.
So, but boy, you have come a long ways, Darin, from milking cows. You still milk cows?
Still milk cows, yep.
Yeah,
I milked them this morning before I came to the show, so.
By hand or
with machines.
Okay. Have you ever heard of the Clean Easy milking machine?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Because that's what we had when I was growing up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was had a big wheel there, and it'd go back and forth, and the pumps would go back and forth.
Yep.
Incredible. But look, we're in a very high growth industry now with agriculture, and not only here in Vernon County, but in Wisconsin and beyond. And one of the things that's happening, of which you're very involved, has to do with the communication technology for rural America.
Yep.
Is that kind of putting it where it belongs there?
That would be correct. We've been working with not only state, but also the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, and trying to get more dollars into rural communities to get broadband access for everybody. And 3-4 years ago is when we kind of started looking at that, because part of the at that time was 2012 Farm Bill, there was going to be some more dollars allotted for rural broadband. And
right.
So we did some research here in the state of Wisconsin, and we found where most of the rural broadband is, or broadband in general is, and in the rural areas there seems to be a real lacking of it. And we've got a map here that I'm assuming Bob will show us at some point in time, that shows how in southeast Wisconsin there's quite a few.
I'll hold that up, Darin, and Jeannie will zero in on it right here if I hold it steady. And there you are. Now you want to explain that.
Southeast Wisconsin, as you can see, or the eastern side of the state's all red, and that's where broadband is really accessible at. If you go into southwest Wisconsin, Vernon County area here, you're kind of looking at where there's yellows. In that area, there's some broadband access there, but not, total coverage of broadband access.
Sure.
Then if you move way up into northern Wisconsin, Northwoods up there's white spots where there's no broadband access.
Exactly.
And so and all those areas have not only farmers, but rural residents that need to communicate with folks in Madison, Milwaukee, New York City, or Chicago, and they can't do that under the current layout of broadband.
That's exactly right. And broadband, as you know, a lot of it is underground fiber optics, and it allows you to read and see and listen to just about anything that's in the universe, whether it's right here from Westby or whether it's from Moscow.
Right.
But the important thing is that it provides much more access to good educational training and commercial information, which, as you said, helps expand your kind of business.
Right. It's one thing if you have to buy a from a local dealership, but nowadays if you can go on the internet and find that same part in Kentucky and get it shipped up here for less. With struggling financial situations that farmers are in, it certainly helps them to helps keep their bottom line looking a little bit better.
Oh, absolutely, and it gives them a wide field for competitive buying and so forth, as well as selling.
yeah. You know, there's as we're seeing the world market become more and more a world marketplace with more and more trade agreements coming between the U.S. and other nations. There's buyers in Japan and South Korea that actually want cheese and dairy products that come from Wisconsin more than the cheese and dairy products that come from California.
That's right.
And with broadband, that gives us accessibility to talk to those
You
folks.
bet. Well, as president, you've got your challenge is to help facilitate that growth as much as possible, and so consequently, you get into politics.
Yeah, a little bit more than I thought I ever would, but that's part of the job description.
Exactly,
that I did, so.
exactly. And then what brought you to my attention was this headline in the Westby Times: "Farmers, rural residents encouraged to speak up on biannual budget." Can you see that headline there? So you made the news, Darin, and you do it a lot, right? It is, and I mean that's very important for you. Now, here we have, and it talks about a bicentennial or biannual budget.
Yeah.
So how are you going to help that along?
Well, it's one of the good things that's in the governor's budget. We've got quite a few things that we don't agree with him on, but he's allotted $6 million for broadband access to improve broadband access.
That's a very good part of the budget. I would say.
Yeah. Well, it's a $1 billion budget or $5 or $6 billion budget. So it's only a small fraction of what the total budget is.
So does that money go directly to the farmer, or does it go to the building of the infrastructure?
The money is the way it's written into the budget is to go for infrastructure, studies, and also for personnel to install that stuff.
The actual implementation. So
Yeah.
it goes to telephone companies.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Or there is some local municipalities too that are actually run their own communication system, so it'd go for that too. And the only thing that isn't in there is it actually won't buy the fiber optic.
Oh, really?
But it'll do everything up to that point.
All right. So then who?
Well, that would be on the backs of the consumers or the people that actually use the broadband. For instance, Vernon Communications here has been putting fiber optic in for quite a few years already, and their members are the ones that are paying
Right.
for that.
Yep.
And
Yep. Exactly.
similar to how this would be, but it would certainly help serve. That $6
Sure.
million would help those underserved
I can say
areas.
and it's the same for many of these rural companies. You take the Coon Valley Farmers, rural telephone company there, and boy, they put in incredible amounts of fiber optics, and has really expanded the technology and the information scheme for that whole area.
Yeah.
Now the Farmers Union. You have an office in just about every community?
No, we've got county chapters, not
All right.
offices, just
All
county
right.
chapters. Our state office is located in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And then we also have an office in Madison that we have 3 staff people there too.
Okay.
That talk to government agencies and our elected officials.
And you've been a member for how many years?
47.
47 years.
Yeah.
47 years. Your mom and dad.
Through mom and dad, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I went through the youth program. We have a youth program that starts at age 8 and 18 when you get done with that program, and then was involved with some of the leader programs throughout the years. So.
Terrific. That's terrific. What kind of instruction, education in that?
Building cooperatives is what Wisconsin Farmers Union does through our youth program. When kids come to camp in June and August, the first thing they do is set up a co-op the first day of camp. Everybody gives $1, so they've got a share in the co-op.
All right.
And then throughout the week they can buy T-shirts and food items. And then at the end of the week, that profits are divvied back to the members, so they understand how a cooperative works. Within 1 week,
That's
they get
phenomenal.
that education. Yeah.
Boy, that's phenomenal. That's firsthand experience.
Right.
It's not. It's out of the book, but it's really on the table in front of them.
Yeah. They actually, elect a president and a vice president and a secretary treasurer. All that first day gets done. So, kids that have been there for a few years kind of know the process.
Yeah. That's kind of like Future Farmers of America has maybe programs like that, or
Yes, yeah. They've got the the team, their FFA team that's led by president and secretary, and they actually go through parliamentary procedure, which we don't get that in depth in Farmers Union, but it's similar. Yeah.
Do you have on the membership, for example, here in the state of Wisconsin?
We've got just about 2,000 family memberships. Family memberships.
Wow.
So, if we would, and every family membership is one vote. But if you include the rest of the family and figure, husband and wife and
Right.
2 kids, you're looking at
Absolutely, and of course, with broadband now, you undoubtedly you have a website.
Yep. www.wisconsinfarmersunion.com.
Okay, and do you? So you actually can have really close communication. As president of the Wisconsin Farmers Union, you live in this area, but Chippewa Falls is where the office is now. Going there every day would be
a real struggle.
A real struggle is exactly right. I mean, you'd have to hire me to come milk the cows.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's nice in that way. I get all the information. Being Vernon Communications has broadband, I get all the internet services and everything there at the farm,
Right.
so I can do most of that. I go up to the office about every other week is all that I really need to go up there, to make sure things are still where
Yeah.
they're supposed to be at up
Right.
there, but to communicate with the rest of the world,
Well,
it's really
boy,
nice.
oh boy, I mean that is one huge job you've got there. Did you go to Harvard?
No, just Cashin High School.
And a great success you are. I mean,
thank you.
you articulate it extremely well, and you've got to be a really fine manager and organizer, Darin, in order to hold your position as president. Does the Farmers Union have any major issues with either the state of Wisconsin government or with any other institution or policy?
Well, on the statewide policy, we definitely don't want to see a lot of the cuts that have come over the last 4 or 5 years with Governor Walker, and local schools or rural schools especially have been hit kind of hard. The $840 million that he took away from the schools back in the 2013-14 budget, really hurt. Now he's going to take $300 million away from the university system, and we've got some issues with, particularly with the UW-Madison campus, because he's proposing to take millions of dollars away from the cooperative extension folks that work out of Madison, and then also the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences.
That might not be all that bad.
Well, it's if we want to keep up in a growing world and be able to have the technology to in the forefront, we have to have good educators and good education system.
On the other hand, with broadband and the incredible communications we have, probably instead of having 10 office people, you only need 5.
Sure, yeah.
And I think this is where Governor Walker has been heading, was to try and get rid of what you would call the non-contributing, straight objective instruction and information.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you know yourself, and you have your farm.
Yeah.
And it's you and your wife, children.
And two kids. Yeah,
2 kids, and you're doing it.
Yeah. Which my son's got 2 weeks of college left. He's coming home to take over the farm. So.
Yeah. Okay,
handing it down. Yeah.
But you don't really need to have 2 or 3 other people, eating off your table every day and telling you what you should do.
Well, sometimes it's kind of nice when that happens. You can do things that you need to. And that was one thing when starting the job as Wisconsin Farmers Union president. I had to make sure that I had help at home before I could start this
exactly.
job, and they were more than willing to do that. But that isn't every situation that's that way too.
Right.
There's folks and even businesses around the world or country and state that have wasteful positions in them. And,
Right.
we try to be as efficient as possible, but sometimes trying to be over efficient isn't a good thing neither at all.
You're a good union man, Darin.
Thank you.
Now we talk about the broadband again. So you've got some real stepping stones here in terms of before and after broadband, do you, in terms of the production and...
Yeah, yeah. Well, just looking at, what broadband's done for rural Wisconsin, in areas where there is broadband, the counties are growing not only number of businesses but number of residents, versus the counties that don't have broadband access.
All right.
People are leaving those counties, and so that's just another
Yeah.
signal why we need to have more
exactly.
broadband access.
How about the, does your union get into marketing at all, or into imports, exports, etc.?
No, we're basically, our main objectives are education and policy work. So we have the camp for young kids, and then we do.
I think that's really incredible.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's probably they probably have singular person-to-person instruction and education, right?
Right, yeah. Not really, well, it's not really person to person, but close, because we usually have one camp staff for every 5 or 6 kids.
Okay.
So it's about as close to person as you can
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
really
That's
get to.
exactly right. Now the what do you have character building in your classes?
Yeah, puppet camp. Part of the program, once they hit the junior high level, they do some art classes, acting. For instance, I remember the last year I was at camp, we formed a band called the Jumpsters or something like that.
Right.
And all we did was really jump around on stage because I don't have a musical bone in my body at all. So. But that's part of trying to make you feel more comfortable in front of crowds and helping with that.
But and you see what you're trying to do, I think, here is to help these young people begin to understand responsibility and accountability, and I think that's what I was referring to
Sure.
as the building character.
Yeah.
Because one of the things with Pastor Don Grumman, who was here today, for example, he's talking about a moral code.
Sure, yeah.
That's got to be part of it, right?
Yep. And we do that once they get beyond high school age. Then we have like now we have an emerging leader conference once a year that we invite our younger members, the 20 to 35-year-olds, to come and participate in that and do different sessions on how to run meetings. Try to get them to find an issue that they feel very strongly about and have them do a speech for a group on that. And then also National Farmers Union too has what we call the Beginning Farmers Institute, which they do a program throughout the country with different individuals and talk about finances and how to run your farm and business, or even local business like a feed supplier or vet supply stations too. That's all involved in that process.
What I was trying to get at was that the farming is very practical, it's very pragmatic, and there's not a lot of guessing going on, if you will, except you're risking. A farmer is risking all the time, but you've got to have a real trust, truth, straight thinking, mental capacity going on here, and you learn that at an early age, I think. Am I right or wrong on that?
I would agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trust in farming, that because you depend on not only the people you buy a product from, but the people that you sell your products to actually give you the best price possible for it. And that's not always true in some cases. The people that are buying your dairy products, your milk, aren't necessarily out there to look at what's best for you as a farmer. They're looking at their bottom line and not the farmer's bottom line.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's something I think that's extremely honest about farming, because first of all, you're dealing with God's land, and the crops and all of that, and you've got to be really smart. You can't welch on much when you're thinking of nourishing the land and that sort of thing.
Right. You want to make sure that I guess when I took over the farm from Mom and Dad in 1990, I've had the theory and thought that when I hand the farm over to the next generation, I want it to be in better shape, not only nutrient-wise, but also financially wise
wow.
in a better shape. And
That's
it's a challenge to do that on a daily basis.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But what you're talking about is are some very basic character and moral rules, if you will. And you're right. When you buy something, you want to leave it in better shape than when you got it.
Right, right.
And so when I was talking about character building at these youth schools, actually they come there already with quite a bit of character in terms of these standards. Am I right or wrong on that? I mean, because these kids have dealt intimately with the economies of their farm by listening to their mother and dad, and also by doing their wishes.
Correct. Yeah, a lot. We do get a fair share of kids that come from urban areas too at camp, with the growing number of CSA farmers and organic farmers around the state. We're getting more and more kids that are there for the food system more than because they're producers. But those kids too also understand that the food that they're consuming and eating is coming from someplace, and they want to make sure that they're contributing directly to the farmers.
Yeah, you bet. I'm talking with Darin VonRuden, who is president of the Wisconsin Farmers Union, and it's most interesting. And I compliment you on it's a big job you're doing there, and boy, you're handling it from my viewpoint very well in terms of getting the word out and working with the legislature is different than working with their next door neighbor.
Right, yeah. Because they've got to sometimes they've got to worry about somebody that's 300 miles away from you. Where I in the farming industry, everybody helps their neighbors out as much as possible, and I think if we could see more of that in not only our state government but our federal government, I think the country would be in a better spot. We're getting to a point where there isn't enough communications amongst our leaders, and that's not
the thing is the federal government is getting so big that all the communication you get is worthless because it's it's been gone over so many times and changed by so many different people.
Right.
The common sense and the application is gone.
Yeah.
That's why getting rid of a lot of staff people and the bureaucracies is a good move.
As long as we have jobs for them when they get pushed out, that's another thing that we have to.
You'll have to retrain them.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been sitting behind a desk and just working with the iPad and with a calculator and dreaming up visions, but never having been out there and done it, you know what that means.
Right. Yeah. Common sense, basic knowledge of what's going on out in the real world.
And hands-on experience, and I think that's one of the things that I always felt, being raised on a farm, you could be thrown in with a bunch of Russian peasants and you'd make out.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that
well, you good work ethic goes a long ways.
So now, in your look ahead, what's your vision of the Farmers Union for the next 5-10 years?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we need to make sure that the farming industry here in the state, especially being it's the leading industry in the state, we need to make sure that our members have the ability to compete not only in the state of Wisconsin but internationally. And some of the international trade pacts that are going on aren't necessarily good for agriculture. We seem to be in a spot where we're taking product into other countries and forcing those farmers out of business, which isn't an ethical thing. We should be looking at, if they need help, giving that help. And the sub-Saharan African countries that are in some of the trade deals don't have the ability to raise their own seeds, and we need to, as a country, share that so that they can feed their own people. And
you need missionaries.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. When I went to ag school a long time ago, that was one of the deals was to through cooperative extension, but also through the international trading. Boy, I mean, I had friends who would go to Afghanistan and try and teach them how to do.
Yeah. National Farmers Union is working with a farmer-to-farmer campaign that's takes farmers from the United States and into African countries and spend 3 to 4 weeks in a local community and teach them, some of the farming practices that we have here in the United States. And a lot of them are still working with the plow, the rake, and the hoe that the original Farmers Union emblem was based on. And so we're trying to help them update and plant, instead of planting a seed of corn every 2 feet and not getting a cob on there because they don't self-pollinate at that range, trying to educate them to, you got to plant it closer together and make the food work for you.
I have to ask you, where is the Farmers Union on ethanol? I did talk to you about that before.
That's it's actually a good question. Overall, nationally, we support ethanol. The RFS, which is being kind of put in the back burner right now, is something that we believe should be stronger than it currently is. We can fuel and feed the country and the world. We do it right with modern technology, with the bushels per acre that we're getting from corn and soybeans. There's no reason why we can't do both. Yeah. And we do have some members that hate ethanol because they're beef farmers and dairy farmers, because they feel that it raised the price of their feed too much. Yep. Which now that's come down, and so they're not quite so unhappy with it now at this point in time. Yeah. But overall, the ethanol industry is really helped rural America overall when you look at the dollars that's brought back to America, and just kept here in America rather than sending it overseas to foreign lands.
Well, I'll tell you what, Darin, this has been most interesting for me, and I'm sure for all of our viewers here, to talk to you and listen to you and get more information and a better profile, if you will, of rural America, especially here in Wisconsin, and of the push now to help rural America. Just like way back in the days when the REA was bringing electricity.
Right. You can look at it pretty much the same way. It's
exactly.
Getting the communication system into the 21st century.
Okay, well listen, good luck to you, and ever need any hired hands out there, let me know. Once in a while I can break loose there.
Well, thanks,
Darin.
Bob. Thanks.
And good luck to you and all your people who are working with you, and we look forward to talking to you again. Maybe get a report next fall or something.
Sure. Anytime you want, or if you see something that you want, just give me a holler. Wonderful. You got my number.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And Darin VonRuden with me today, and we'll be seeing what agriculture does in the state of Wisconsin over the next coming months. And meanwhile, all of you have a good day, and bless the farmers, because boy, without the farmers, we'd be kind of just walking around without much meat on our bones.
Right.
I'm Bob Burrell. Thanks for being with the Old Bob Show. Thanks to Gene Burrell and to Randy for helping put this show together. Vernon Communications now, the new title. That's good. It fits. Take good care, and God bless.